Hey there and welcome back to XCOM 2. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our Legend Ironman walkthrough of XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. Last time we left off after, well, it was another interesting episode, wasn't it? With a somewhat decimated squad, we had to take care of an Advent retaliation, during which we unfortunately met our first Archon, but also successfully skulljacked an Advent officer, and after killing the resulting Codex, we are also one very small step closer towards our grand goal of defeating the aliens, not to mention that we have reduced the Avatar Project progress bar by 2 whole points, which is what today's episode actually starts with.
You have delayed the aliens' efforts towards completing the Avatar Project, Commander. Let us hope the assets you recovered will prove useful in uncovering the aliens' plans.
And yes indeed, that gives us a bit of breathing room, and we have also uncovered another rumor, although I dare say that spending 8 days scanning for alien alloys at the moment might not be the smartest choice. I think we'll have to spend just a few more days at the Templar HQ first, considering our still rather lengthy list of injuries.
Avenger plotting new course.
Before we do that, however, let us quickly fly over to the black market. Its inventory has been restocked and perhaps we can sell something too. We should at least take a look before the next sabotage once again wipes it out. Now on the selling side here we can see that the market is very interested in priests, vipers and mechs, or rather in what remains after we take care of them. Either way, after quickly checking my notes, I think we can part ways with 10 Viper Corpses and all of our mech racks. 3 of the former will still be needed for a Proving Ground project, while mech racks serve no additional purpose outside of the breakdown we have already performed. And so we gain a few supplies and can now take a look at what to buy, and I would actually like to hear what you think about this list. In my opinion, all 3 superior grade weapon attachments here could be of interest, and for the fairly low price of 90 intel we could also recruit another specialist, so let me know in the comments down below if any of that is something you think we should do. For the moment at least, we're not going to purchase anything, but that might change depending on what you guys think. Now, at this point, like I've said, we've made some money, but it can't hurt to make some more.
Avenger plotting new course.
So I think let's spend at least 1 day scanning our supply drop. That should get our funds back up to a respectable level. Or it forces us to watch as the aliens make more progress on the Avatar Project, and that is of course another possibility.
Commander, the aliens continue to make progress on the Avatar Project. If we're going to slow them down, we'll need to move fast.
And yes, we have taken note of that, but at the moment there is no cause for concern. Instead, with 1/3 of the supplies obtained, we are now indeed flying over to the Templar HQ.
Avenger plotting new course.
The number of soldiers who are tired or injured is still a bit too high in my opinion, and at least about the latter we can do something here. And just like that, we have now also constructed ourselves the training center. Mechanically speaking, probably one of the more complex facilities in the game, but definitely also one of the more important ones.
Commander, this facility will allow our soldiers to train together to improve their bonds, while also putting the knowledge they've gained in combat towards learning new abilities.
Right, so the training center, and Bradford mentioned it already, we can do several things here. The 2 core mechanics are undoubtedly leveling up soldier bonds and purchasing additional soldier abilities, but there is a bit more to it. Now, first things first, we can use the training center to advance soldiers who have formed a level 1 bond to level 2 and 3. That is of course only if they have leveled their bond high enough. And we do in fact already have quite a few candidates who would be eligible for a level 2 bond. However, all of them are either tired or injured, which is why none of them show up here. One more thing we can do is we can retrain soldiers that we have already spent skill points on, so basically anything above the level of squaddy. So for example, if you have built yourself up a melee ranger but would now like to focus them more on using shotguns, then you can put them in here for a few days and reselect their abilities afterwards. Once again though, this only works with people who are currently healthy. Now, all of that is nice of course, but the main advantage of the training center is the ability to purchase additional abilities, a process that we are already somewhat familiar with from our faction soldiers of the Reapers, Skirmishers and Templars. So if we take a look at Van Dyke here for example, we can now see a very familiar looking skill selection menu. Yes, just like Reapers, Skirmishers and Templars, our regular soldiers also all collect ability points, and they also all have access to the shared XCOM pool. And with those ability points, we could now, for example, give Van Dyke here Medical Protocol, an ability that we initially skipped at the corporal level. As you can see, Van Dyke also has 4 additional skills marked XCOM that are not part of the specialist tree. These are randomly selected from a large pool of potential abilities and also randomly assigned to the soldier ranks that they are available at. In Van Dyke's case, for example, we could grab Implacable or Killzone, and this mechanic now actually applies to every single one of our regular soldiers. Well, not exactly all of them. As you can see, we have unfortunately run into a small bug that can sometimes occur when dealing with imported characters from the character pool. Thankfully, it only affects 4 of our soldiers, Sapphire and Twitchy being 2 of them, but they don't have any XCOM skills and that is not the way it's supposed to be. As far as I'm aware, there is unfortunately no solution to this, so I think we'll have to deal with it. And while those XCOM skills can sometimes allow you to create some truly powerful soldiers, not having them is also not the end of the world. Now, to kind of make up for that, we can also see that Twitchy here has a genius-level combat intelligence. I'll leave it to Bradford to explain to us what exactly that means.
Each of the faction soldiers gains knowledge at different rates. Soldiers with high combat aptitudes will pick up new tactical skills more frequently.
Yes, so basically geniuses like Twitchy or the gifted Helleborus here receive ability points faster, although as far as I'm aware this does not affect the chance of getting them from things like flanks or height advantage shots. It only affects how many of them they gain at a level up, as every soldier with a combat intelligence higher than standard does get a few points each time they earn a new rank. The detailed soldier lists mod we're playing with actually also shows that. Red is standard, orange is above average, yellow is gifted and green is genius. There is also the very rare level of savant, which would be marked in blue, but it looks like we don't have anyone with that. So that's the training center. As you can see, a whole lot of potential here, but I think I will look at all of our soldiers in between episodes. I have my own notes on every single one of them and how I'd like to build them up, so this will require some thinking that I don't think we'll need to do at this point. What we do want to do, however, is form a new soldier bond. You may have spotted it too. Despite a horrendous compatibility, Starfall and Dragonova have spent enough time together to form a level 1 bond. So let's confirm that, snap a quick picture. Lovely. One last thing then before we continue scanning, the construction of the training center did have an engineer assigned to it. That means, with the construction now complete, Isaac Schmidt is available again and can help out excavating, bringing the remaining time down from 67 to 34 days, but we still have 1 slot left open and are currently also not at the Skirmisher HQ, so the whole affair can go much faster if we needed to. For the next few days though, let us remain at the Templar HQ, at least until our injury list has shortened a bit. Right, and once again it looks like the aliens are not sitting idly by while we recover.
Commander, if we want to set back the aliens' work on the Avatar project, we should hit one of their facilities as soon as possible.
Alien facility coordinates locked in, Commander.
Right, so we have just received 3 points of Avatar project progress in the span of just 3 in-game days. Good thing we took those 2 points off last time around, but we might want to attack the next 1 or 2 facilities soon.
It is just as I had hoped, Commander.
Right, good news from our scientists. We have completed rapid excavation, which means that the next excavation project can be completed instantly, and this does actually include power coils, although it can unfortunately not be applied to spots you have already begun excavating. Still, it will come in handy, as will the improved pistols breakthrough that we are once again reminded of here. And then we learn that the very important alien encryption project has been inspired, although this is hardly a time saver considering the already fairly short research time of just 6 days. It looks like we have also collected enough faceless corpses for the autopsy to now be instant, so let's begin with that and then see whether or not we follow up on the inspiration.
I am at a loss for words to describe the difficulties we have had in attempting to handle this creature, affectionately known as the Faceless, to our troops. The nebulous form of its physical structure, including a pliable, semi-solid outer layer, seems to be slowly degrading now that the creature has expired. There is also a pungent odor that only seems to grow stronger as time passes. I've often wondered how the aliens could conceive of such a being. Is there another world out there, filled with these shape-shifting creatures? Or are they merely another construct of alien genetic tampering?
Right, so aside from Tygan musing about the Faceless origins, we have also just unlocked the Mimic Beacon, arguably one of the most powerful utility items in the entire game. You might remember it from the first game. This is basically a device used to lure enemy attacks away from your soldiers, and it is very effective in doing so. Now up next, I think we will actually skip the encryption. It only saves us 2 days, so it's not much, and instead I would like to go with psionics first, as this unlocks a whole new gameplay mechanic that I think we should get to soon, and it does take about half a month to research and then even longer to build the necessary facility, so it's best not to waste any more time.
I will make that our highest priority.
Now at this point, we can see it here, we can also very quickly take a look at those level 2 bonds, as the pair of Twitchy and Schwaminian, for example, are eligible for a level up. Now, if we wanted to do that, we would have to plug both of them into the training center, and this is where the problem lies, at least if you have a number of other soldiers still tired or injured, as forming a level 2 bond takes some time, in this case 6 days, during which both soldiers will not be available. And considering that we still have this month's Guerilla Ops ahead of us, I'd rather not risk anything. Nonetheless, we should start working on leveling up these bonds sooner or later. By the way, you may have noticed it too in the bottom left corner of the screen. We did have a good number of people already return from their injuries, so I think it's time to head back to the Skirmisher HQ. After all, we do have a few building projects still underway.
Avenger plotting new course.
Our soldiers took some hits during the most recent covert action, but word from the medical team is they'll all be fine.
Alright, and with that we have completed a very important covert action. Unfortunately, Grenadier Echo Sierra did get wounded, but we have just recruited ourselves a second Reaper, and I have a feeling that that's going to make life a whole lot easier.
One of my best people was so impressed by your soldiers after that last action together. They're coming to join up with you. Hope you don't mind.
Now, unfortunately, Nicole here is not someone from the character pool. This seems to be an ongoing issue with these faction soldiers. We'll fix that in a second, but for now let us assign our next covert action. Now, honestly, I have to say, at the moment it is a fairly mediocre list. Since all of our highest ranking soldiers are still unavailable, going after promotion still does not make much sense, and so I think we'll have to go with the improved assault rifles breakthrough here. This will be a good damage increase, especially for our specialists, and it comes with the added bonus of not having any rank requirements. So once again, it's Sharpshooter Radonis, this time accompanied by Specialist Sophie Blade as well as Japan P. After all, on missions like these that give us a breakthrough, we always need to bring a scientist.
Covert is our specialty. Let's just hope your people can keep up.
Now, at this point, we still have our brand new Reaper to get to, and of course I did turn her into a character from the character pool too, and as always, that's a character submitted by one of my lovely Patreon supporters. So meet Celica Momose, nicknamed Sleeper. So I guess we now have Reaper Sleeper in our team. Either way, she was submitted by Patreon supporter Gigalomaniac, so congratulations on being featured, and of course thank you very much for your generous support. Now, in terms of a biography, not much is known about the past of Celica. Having suffered from amnesia as a child, she has almost no memories about her childhood or her parents, and strangely, we haven't found any records about her from the time she was a kid. She lived in Yokohama before she joined the militia, and we should keep an eye on her, as whatever caused her amnesia could be an existential risk for XCOM. Maybe she's a potential sleeper agent from Advent? Still, despite her mysterious past, her instructors assured us that her skills are of inestimable value. Hence, we should take the risk for now. Alright, lovely stuff here. I always enjoy a biography with a bit of story to it, but now I think it's time to give Reaper Sleeper a few abilities. And to be honest, I don't think there is a whole lot to discuss about this. We will build her up very similarly to the way we built up Dragonova, with Remote Start, Target Definition and Silent Killer as her 3 core skills. We then have 12 AP left over, and I was torn between Blood Trail and Shrapnel. Ultimately though, I decided to go with Shrapnel for now, just because Blood Trail is a bit more situational, and also because the potential damage increase is much larger. Her 2 XCOM skills at this point, by the way, Tactical Rigging and Squad Sight. I actually think that Dragonova has both of those too, but again, these are randomly selected, so this is sheer coincidence. Either way, let's continue scanning. I think it's high time for some action in this episode, but obviously we can't complain about the chance of giving our soldiers some time to rest. Now, after 2 more days at the Skirmisher HQ, we are now only 3 days away from completing Blue Screen Protocol in the Proving Ground, and so we are now switching over to scanning the encrypted signal over here.
Avenger plotting new course.
Which is actually the first bit of DLC content, and without spoiling anything, that Blue Screen Protocol might come in handy. Before we can embark on that mission, however, it looks like it's time for this month's Guerilla Ops, so let's take a look at the choices we can make. Now, I think I've said it before, but in my opinion, none of the 3 dark events here are terribly dangerous, so I think we want to decide mostly based on mission reward. And I have to say, acquiring another engineer strikes me as the most interesting one. Certainly more interesting than supplies, and most likely also than the specialist here, especially so if we consider that we do have a lieutenant rank specialist available in the black market too. So I guess it's time for engineer Dr. Thomas Kessler to join our ranks, in a mission that unfortunately comes with the surgical sitrep, so we can only bring 3 soldiers, while our enemies will very much be present in their usual numbers. Suffice it to say, this should be interesting.
Setting course for the East African sector.
Now, before we head out though, a quick jump over to the training center, because I think we need all the help we can get, so let us spend a few ability points. First of all, we have Ranger Warhog, who will now grab the rather expensive Serial, an ability that once activated allows him to keep firing his shotgun basically until he runs out of ammunition, that is, as long as he keeps killing stuff with each shot. And considering that he is only one of 3 soldiers on this mission, I think this could come in handy. Soldier number 2, meanwhile, is Mox, who will now also receive tactical rigging. There is some very specific equipment we want to bring on this one, and we want everyone to carry their part. And with that, let us now select our squad and make the final preparations.
Be aware, we'll be working with limited personnel for the next operation, Commander.
Right, so as you can see, alongside Warhog and Mox, Reaper Sleeper immediately gets her first taste of action, and of course she brings Dragonova's upgraded rifle with her. You can also see that both Warhog and Mox have 1 item slot left open, and we are now going to purchase 2 mimic beacons to fill those slots. Each one costs 100 supplies and 3 faceless corpses, so they are not cheap, but I have a feeling that they could prove to be extremely useful. Once again, our enemies will not bring reduced numbers just because we do. And so I think we are already good to go. Let's see if these 3 are up for the challenge.
Sky Ranger deployed.
In position to drop.
The Resistance set up a data tap on the Advent network through an access point in this area, and they've been retrieving data critical to the aliens' latest operation. Unfortunately, Advent picked up on the signal and are moving to destroy the emplacement. We need to move in and eliminate any hostile forces threatening that device. Hostile forces are already moving to destroy the data tap installed nearby. We need to lock down the area and secure the device at all costs. If we're going to keep this one quiet, Commander, we'll have to limit the squad size to 3 of our best units. Let's hope they can get the job done without additional support.
Right, so we didn't actually talk about this earlier, but the mission type is protected device. So we are once again on sort of a mission timer, but at least to begin the mission our enemies will be otherwise occupied, and we also know already where we will eventually find all of them. So I guess, Reaper Sleeper, you go ahead and scout and see what that reveals.
I will reposition. I know where you are.
Right, so we have a Spectre and 2 sectoids, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but I did also install the Show Health Values mod. With enemies now routinely sporting double-digit hit points, I think this is just a necessity.
I will go. No place for you to go now. The invaders send a patrol.
And that reveals enemy group number 2, a Purifier and a Codex from what I can tell. Perhaps also a 3rd enemy hidden behind the fence, but at the moment we can't be sure of that.
I'm all over it.
And yes, after last episode's encounter, Codexes will now appear regularly on missions. Unfortunately, they are not just the result of a successful Skulljack attempt. Alright, Spectre and Sectoids have moved right next to the car here, that seems interesting. Our device, meanwhile, also takes fire for the first time, and we also catch a glimpse of the people doing so. Looks like an advanced trooper, shield bearer and priest. So that is the identity of 3 enemy groups already revealed. Purifier and Codex, meanwhile, have also moved back a bit, and I think that puts us in the perfect position to once again begin things with remote start.
I am at your service.
Which will kill the 2 sectoids and leave the Spectre severely injured.
Enjoy the show.
Alright, beautiful. That leaves the Spectre standing with only 4 hit points, and that means Celica should hopefully be able to take care of it silently on her next turn.
Yes, Commander. Hold back, son.
Mox meanwhile moves up and establishes line of sight with Priest and Shield Bearer, and then we go on Overwatch. No need to reveal ourselves just yet.
Scanning.
Attacking on sight.
Unsurprisingly then, the Spectre moves back towards the others, but it shouldn't be too far away for our Reaper to deliver the kill shot. The priest meanwhile unloads again, dealing 5 more points of damage against the device. But I think we should still be fine here, as Codex and Purifier also move in closer. Up next then, I think it's time to take out the Spectre, so let's move up with Mox and have our Reaper follow.
The target is marked.
And as I had hoped, that is enough for a silent kill to be guaranteed.
You must keep me resupplied.
So that's 1 enemy part dealt with, and I assume 3 more to go. Let's move up our Ranger here to get a better picture of what we're dealing with.
Objective here.
Menace 1-5, we've got a line on the target. Move to protect that gear at all costs.
Alright, so we have a visual on the device, unfortunately though not on its health bar, but he also discovers a gas tank on the side of the building, and who knows, maybe that could come in handy. Now, interestingly enough, at this point we do have a health bar of the device, and with 29 hit points left, it basically means we have 5 more turns, and if we don't catch our enemy's attention by the 6th, then we might be in trouble. And since our enemies don't seem to be too keen on moving, I guess we now have to come to them.
That's a long run. There is nowhere to hide.
In the process, Reaper Sleeper also detects a Muton accompanied by 2 more sectoids, and I think that should be all the enemies present on this map. By the way, just in case you're wondering, the Chosen Hunter should still be guaranteed to stay away. After all, we did not have more than 2 missions in Hunter-controlled territory since the last appearance.
Got it covered. I will watch.
Alright, so the enemy turn passes by, nothing out of the ordinary. Everyone just shuffles around a bit, but overall they all stay where they are. And so I guess it's time to use that gas tank to our advantage. It will only affect Priest and Trooper and won't even kill the Priest, but the main benefit is that by only affecting these 2, the explosion will for some reason not alert the other 2 enemy parts.
So easily set aflame.
Stand and fight.
Okay, so this here I did not count upon. It looks like the priest here has just maneuvered us into an absolutely horrific situation, as revealing the flanked Mox here now reveals our entire squad, and well, they did have line of sight with the entire enemy force. Right, so looks like this is what we have to deal with now. 7 enemies, 6 of them at full health, 3 of them somewhat heavily armored, and our Reaper has already spent her entire turn. Still, I guess this is what we bought Serial for, although let us first of all throw Warhog's axe at the priest. It's a free action and perhaps it gets us the kill. And it hits, even for a critical, but unfortunately the priest triggers his sustainability. Nothing we can do about that, so let us now move in. We want to move into the perfect position before activating Serial, as the ability does not actually give us any additional actions to do anything else but shoot. So let's shoot, and we'll pick the sectoid first. Here we have the highest chance to get the instant kill.
Who's keeping the score?
Alright, 1 down, a few more still to go. I think up next is the Purifier. The hit is once again guaranteed, but we need to score a critical to get the kill. Alright, so far so good, that's 2 down, let's take care of the Shield Bearer next. Once again, a critical hit is necessary to get us the kill. And that succeeds too, so let us now see if we can make it 4 out of 4 against the Muton. Our Ranger is definitely capable of delivering 13 points of damage, let's see if he does. Alright, so no crit this time, the Muton remains standing, but the battlefield looks much cleaner already. And to be perfectly honest, I would not have accepted this mission had I not seen earlier that we had Serial available for Warhog. Now, obviously, we are still far from in the clear, but Mox has a fairly decent action economy too, and will actually start with an almost 50-50 shot on his Whiplash ability. This does not cost an action, and a hit would kill the Muton.
I will not fail you again.
Sadly though it misses, so let's hope the 81%er here does not.
The light has left them.
Alright, thankfully that's the muton down, and that means we can now safely use the frost bomb against the Codex, which leaves only 2 psi-focused enemies alive, and those generally prefer to use attacks that are not directly damaging. And indeed, the priest moves in and goes for a stasis against Mox. This is actually somewhat inconvenient, because even if we kill the priest, the stasis will remain for 1 turn. The sectoid, meanwhile, doesn't actually do anything against us and instead decides to fire against the device. An interesting choice, but one that we'll gladly live with. So, it's a new turn and we still only have 2 soldiers to act with, but we should be able to thin out our enemy numbers at least somewhat. After getting a free reload in, we can move our Reaper into a flanking spot against the priest. As you can see, the hit is not guaranteed, but 95% I guess we'll take it. Alright, and that's the priest down, but like I said, the stasis remains, and since Serial has a 5-turn cooldown and Warhog cannot kill 2 enemies on the same turn again, let us just retreat a bit and deploy the Mimic Beacon now. Hopefully our enemies will find it a bit more interesting than us. The Mimic Beacon then deploys a mirror image of Warhog with 12 hit points, the same amount that he has. Let's see if it fools our enemies. The sectoid at least looks like it has absolutely no idea what to do. The Codex meanwhile teleports, lands right in front of the beacon, and then fires. 5 points of damage, and then the beacon vanishes, because it only lasts for 1 turn, but during that 1 turn it kept our soldiers safe. And well, since we have a second one, we might as well focus on the sectoid for now. Warhog can quickly reload and then take a 92%er, once again with a decent chance of getting the one-shot kill.
Happy now?
And there we go, now we're down to only the Codex, and we actually don't want to shoot it at all during this turn. We probably do have enough firepower to take it out, but any non-lethal damage we do would cause it to split into 2 clones, and I really don't think it would be a good idea to increase enemy numbers at this point in the mission. So instead, we just hope that it takes the Mimic Beacon bait again, and it looks like it does. Another shot, another hit, but our soldiers remain without damage. And so I guess it's time to go in for the killing blow. I think the best we can hope for is another critical hit with Warhog. Once again, a crit is needed, but he has proven reliable so far.
You want some more? Status confirmed. All hostiles are down and the area is secure. Status confirmed. Mission accomplished.
Alright, and there we go. Somehow we managed to pull off a flawless mission with only 3 soldiers. We also finished the mission just in time to pick up the loot from the priest that dropped earlier. All in all, this honestly went better than I had expected.
Propaganda never looked so pretty.
Advent officials revealed today's maneuver by local peacekeepers was a planned exercise. Citizens should not be alarmed. All weapon fire and wounds were simulated to better train Advent forces.
As long as there's even one Reaper left standing, you can bet they're still in the fight. Finger on the trigger.
No promotions just yet, but Warhog and Mox are tired. On the bright side though, the fact that we only took 3 soldiers also means that nobody else had to suffer, so the rest of our squad should be fresh for the next one, and well, considering what the plan is, they better be. Our dropped loot from earlier, then a laser sight and a conditioning PCS. We also obtained another Codex brain. Who knows what that might be useful for down the line.
Another impressive effort, Commander. My expectations were high, and yet you have exceeded them.
And with that, we have countered the Advent Midnight Raid's Dark event, completely useless in my opinion, as it just drove up the cost of recruits. So the more important bit here, definitely the arrival of Dr. Thomas Kessler, nicknamed Da Parrot, submitted by the patron supporter of the same name, with a biography that is short and to the point. Thomas has no idea why he's here, he does not want to be here, but someone gave him a gun and he's been too scared to ask questions since then. Well, looks like he will fit right in with the rest of our bunch. The only question at this point is where to actually put him, as we actually have several options for that. We could, for example, assign him to excavation duties too, and that means we would have our next building space freed up extremely quickly, not to mention that we could unlock another one immediately afterwards thanks to that breakthrough from earlier. Alternatively, we could also staff him in the Resistance Comms facility. This would increase our contact capacity by 2 and allow us to bring 2 more Resistance regions into the fold. Once again though, I would like to leave this decision up to you, so let me know in the comments down below what you would like us to do with our new engineer. And that is also all for today. I think we have reached a good point to make the cut. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.